One of the biggest reasons why people buy Ram trucks is because of their towing capability and the exhaust brake. Ford did get a better exhaust brake starting in 2023 when they redesigned the Super Duty, and they call theirs an engine brake, so I want to be politically correct for that, but for the rest of the video I'm going to call it an exhaust brake because that's what I'm going to do. And if you don't know, Ford and Ram both have a dual stage exhaust brake. Now I have a GMC, Chevy as well have just a one stage exhaust brake, so it just comes on and then you turn it off. GM's exhaust brake is hit or miss for me. Now I have done some upgrades to my truck from Banks, the cold air intake. It's an absolute game changer, especially with the boost tubes and turbo inlet. But let's go ahead and get started with the video. I was told a story recently, and then I remembered my buddy Robert Poe. You guys probably remember Hitched to Horsepower. He too told me this story a long time ago, and now I'm just kind of combining the stories together because this might be a safety issue if you're using your exhaust brake. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. By the way, I did borrow this beautiful stubby dually from Larry H. Miller, Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram in Sandy, Utah. This truck is available for sale, and I'll be honest with you guys, it's not often that you see these trucks, but when you see them, you should jump on them. Now most of you guys know my channel because of some of the towing videos I've done, and I used to live full-time in my RV with my family. I've done cross-country trips with my race trailer and my fifth wheel, also with my travel trailer that we just sold, by the way. I need to do a video on that. And there was a time when we were coming home. It was the winter time. It wasn't icy, it was just wet outside, but it was cold. And I remember when I had my Ram, when I took my foot off of the gas pedal and hit the brakes, I just tapped them because I had it in an automatic mode for the exhaust brake. I remember feeling the back end start to slip. So I immediately gave it throttle like that, and then I felt it kind of like go side to side, and it was very, very like scary because I knew it happened. So that's kind of why I'm doing this video. Robert Poe, aka Hitch to Horsepower, had mentioned this, and maybe I'll have him do a video on this topic too, because I think it's a good topic because he knew someone who lost control because of their exhaust brake. And this is not something that is the fault of the manufacturer, because if you don't know, they actually tell you this. You just have to look for it. I'm gonna read a little bit in this video, and then I'm gonna demonstrate the exhaust brake for you guys, because I think that this is really important personally. I think that this is something that we all need to know and to be aware of. Now most people know this, but the introduction of the VGT turbo did allow these trucks to have an engine brake. And this is probably one of the top 3 reasons why people buy a diesel engine, because obviously you have the power, but you also have the stopping power, which is way more important than going fast, for sure. So when it comes down to this engine brake, this allows you to not have to use your brake. So if it's 100 degrees outside and you're climbing grades and then you're descending, you don't want to be foot on the brake the whole way down, because eventually you'll notice as you heat up your brakes, you don't even have brakes anymore. That's why they have the runaway ramps on the side of some highways, simply because people to this day forget that. And obviously I think air brakes overheat too on semis, and that's the other issue. But I'm going to read something to you guys. This is in the owner's manual. Believe it or not, if you read your owner's manual, you'll learn a ton of things and why this exhaust brake can be dangerous for you, okay? So it says here, the purpose of the exhaust brake feature is to supply negative torque from the engine. Typically the engine braking is used for, but not limited to, vehicle towing applications where vehicle braking can be achieved by the internal engine power, thereby sparing the mechanical brakes of the vehicle. Benefits of the exhaust brake are right here. You guys see it? Longer brake life, reduce brake fade, and vehicle driving control. But it also helps with faster cab warm-up. The exhaust brake feature will only function when the driver toggles it on by pushing the exhaust brake button until the exhaust brake indicator is illuminated. Normal or full strength exhaust brake mode is indicated by a yellow exhaust brake indicator. So right there is the exhaust brake. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Now it's going to look different for every truck, and for the Rams with the 14.5-inch display, it is on the screen. So when you turn it on, there's that amber indicator right there showing that the exhaust brake is in full mode. Now we know what that's called. It's called full strength exhaust brake. I like that name better than just full. It says here, once the exhaust brake indicator is illuminated and the vehicle is moving faster than 5 miles an hour, the exhaust brake will automatically operate when the driver removes pressure from the accelerator pedal. And exhaust braking is most effective when the engine RPM is higher. So again, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you are on the highway, like there's a highway out there, right? Look at that, Rams towing right there, who worked? If you see traffic starting to slow down ahead, let's figure 150 feet away, you can just take your foot off the accelerator and allow the truck to start to slow down on its own before you get there. And that way you're not putting wear and tear on your brakes, and of course you're not heating up those brakes. And that is the biggest benefit of the full or full strength exhaust brake, because it just comes on as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator pedal. And of course with the higher RPMs, that's kind of where Ford and GM fell short back in the day, because Ram's transmissions, even this new ZF 8-speed, is really aggressive with the downshift. So as it's downshifting, it makes that exhaust brake work better because you're getting the boost up on the turbocharger as well. And that way it's able to get that truck stopped a lot more effectively too. And as it says here, the automatic transmission will downshift more aggressively in tow haul mode when the exhaust brake is enabled to increase brake performance. So that's why you always want to have your tow haul mode and your exhaust brake on at the same time, and that way you get the best performance for stopping. Now here's the disclaimer and why I did this video. Warning, warning. Do not use the exhaust brake feature when driving in icy or slippery conditions, as the increased engine braking can cause the rear wheels to slide and the vehicle to swing around, with the possible loss of vehicle control, which may cause an accident, possibly resulting in personal injury or death. If you've ever driven a car with a lot of power, rear-wheel drive, or even a manual transmission car with rear-wheel drive, I've always noticed how the torque starts to build up with those downshifts. And it makes the wheels, from what it feels like inside the car, it makes it seem like the wheels are spinning backwards as you're downshifting. And that's kind of what happens when you have a strong exhaust brake with a transmission that has strong downshifts. And when the roads are slippery, no matter whether you have a dually or even a single rear wheel, it won't matter, because when that torque hits these tires, you've seen the wheel slippage. I mean, there's plenty of Ford Mustang crash videos, and what happens typically? The guys get overly excited, they're taking off at the car show, and that back tire just starts swinging, and there ain't much you can do when it happens. So this is why it's very, very important to understand this, because I will be honest with you, I didn't know this. And that's why I'm doing this video, to help people. Now I know that there's a bunch of experts in the comment section, and they're gonna say, you didn't know that? You're an idiot. I get it. Some people just know everything. You can't teach people anything. So I didn't know this, and that's why I'm doing this video. I remember when Robert Poe told me this story, and then recently someone else told me this story, I started doing some digging. I was like, man, like, I wonder if there's something in the owner's manual that talks about this. And sure enough, there is. So here's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna go for a quick drive. I think that it's necessary to show you guys the exhaust brake. Now, I don't think that it talks about the automatic mode for this, but here, let's just keep reading real quick before we go into drive. Let's just keep reading here. It says here, the exhaust brake feature can also be used to reduce the engine warm-up time. To use the exhaust brake as a warm-up device, the vehicle must be stopped or moving less than 5 miles an hour. The exhaust brake indicator must be on, and the coolant temperature must be below 180 degrees Fahrenheit and ambient temperature below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Although I mean, I guess you have to look it up on the weather app. Now, here's the automatic, or as they dub it, smart exhaust brake. So automatic smart exhaust brake technology delivers smoother, less aggressive exhaust braking characteristics during downhill descents. Although it can apply full exhaust braking force if needed, automatic or smart exhaust brake may not apply obvious braking if the vehicle speed is not increasing. Automatic smart exhaust brake is intended to maintain vehicle speed, while full exhaust brake is intended to reduce vehicle speed. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Exhaust brake to halt mode. Now, one thing that Ford and Ram do really well, time to catch up GM, is they give you an indicator for your exhaust brake so you can see how it's working. Now, if you ever watch the boost, and I like that the boost is here, you'll notice that the boost actually goes up when the exhaust brake comes on. So we are in full strength exhaust brake, okay? And I want you guys to see what happens when I take my foot off the accelerator pedal. You guys have read it, but now you get to see it in action. So here we go. Love this new 8-speed, by the way. This 8-speed just hooks and books. No more delayed response like the Eisen had. That is the biggest improvement for sure. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take my foot off the accelerator pedal. Not bad. You guys see that? Do it again. Foot off the accelerator pedal. I'm in 6th gear, and it's really strong actually. Like, again, just for, you know, it just doing it on its own. Now if you tap the brakes, it'll actually start to drop that transmission down each gear, which is nice too. So I'm gonna try to get some speed here. I'm gonna get over, because I want you guys to see what happens when I tap the brakes with full. Now it might actually drop the transmission gears a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit stronger when you tap the brakes with the full strength. Now you don't have to tap the brakes, but that is available for you. Here's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna push the exhaust brake button again, and this is in automatic mode. So you saw how I went from amber to green for that, okay? So the way that this works is, if you're someone who travels a lot on the highway, right? This is where automatic is more beneficial for you, because full strength exhaust brake is very strong, especially when you're, you know, pulling a heavy load and you're at a higher speed, because the RPMs, when you drop from 8th gear to 6th gear, wow, this thing is really strong in automatic mode too. But yeah, when you're dropping those gears so quickly, you're just slowing down too fast. And that's where the full strength hurts you at, is your fuel economy. Fuel economy is going to be affected severely if you're in full strength. That's why they give you the automatic mode, because when you take your foot off the accelerator pedal, your exhaust brake does not come on. So I'm gonna tap the brakes, watch what happens. You guys see that? Take my foot off the brake, it goes away. So if you're on the highway and you see how traffic's starting to slow down, that way you can kind of start coasting before you get there, and you're not being slowed down by the full strength exhaust brake. The automatic won't do anything. It's just going to stay off basically. Now, as you're getting off the highway like I am right now, you see how I'm coasting? I don't have to keep the accelerator pedal at 10%. I can just let it coast down, and then as I get closer and closer, I can just tap the brake. And that is the beauty of having the dual stage exhaust brake, because you can't use the full exhaust brake on the highway. I never do. I always have it in automatic mode. That way, if I'm coasting and I don't want to slow down too much, I can maintain my speed a little better, because then as you're maintaining that speed, you can just give it 10% throttle here and then let it coast, 10% throttle here. That way you get the better fuel economy as you're towing. But if you're in full exhaust mode, you're gonna just be slowing down too much, where it's just not as beneficial. Actually, I'm gonna go forward. I want to show you guys really quickly. Man, the power delivery from this new power plant is really good, guys. I really like what Ram has done with this thing. But yeah, look at that. That's automatic mode. And one more time for full. So as we go up here, we're gonna make a right turn. But yeah, look at the power delivery, the boost. And yeah, you see that? So if you're on the highway and you do it again, it's just gonna keep slowing you down too much. I mean, you're dropping a 1 mile an hour per second, right? But yeah, that is pretty much how this system works. It's definitely a good setup. The dual stage exhaust makes so much sense. Not sure why GM is still late to this party. So your rear gross axle weight rating is 9750, 14,000 pound GVWR. Wheels are 17/6. I wish they would go to like a 17/8. I know that you guys think, well, it's a dually, why would they do that? But I'm gonna run 37, so I want the best wheel I can get because I like to use the stock wheels. But yeah, here is the payload at 5,094 pounds. Tire pressure out back is 65, 80 in the front. Hope you guys liked the video. I think that having the exhaust brake is, like I said, probably the top 3 reasons why people buy diesel. But you have to be careful when you use it because you don't want to cause an accident by not knowing that the wheel slippage could allow the truck to lose control if you're towing your home behind you or towing a toy or something like that. So yes, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts down below. See you guys soon.